What is the worst thing you've done as a child that you absolutely deserve being punished for? Around 9 or 10, I was helping my dad and uncle clean out our garage. Well, I came across one of my dad's old bowling balls and proceeded to roll it into the middle of the yard. It was getting kind of dark, and I apparently wanted to be a mean little shit. So I called for my 6 feet 4 inches, 300 pounds uncle to see how far he could kick my soccer ball down the street. Needless to say, he knows what it feels like to legitimately want to kill a small child. Dear Better Nate, you fucking suck. Signed, Uncle's Foot. Yay. The thing is that I was his favorite nephew, so he kind of got a running start to impress me. It didn't turn out to be as funny as I thought. I too have kicked a bowling ball in a backyard for similar reasons. I know your uncle's pain. By the time I went back to school after recovering from my broken foot, rumors had spread that I had kicked a volleyball and broke my foot. Edit. Reason I kicked it was because one of my friends took my hat and ran like an old basketball or soccer ball that was flat, and I would make a small cut on it and then fill it with sand. Then I would say something along the lines, "Let's see who kicks this farther. You go first." I think it worked maybe like 4 or 5 times throughout my childhood. I was raised Mormon and was generally a truthful child. In the Mormon religion, you get baptized at the age of 8, and your sins up to this point are forgiven. 2 days before the ceremony, I stole a pack of gum because I knew I would be forgiven for it very soon. It's all right. It will be like it never happened. Little kid logic. You mean Mormon logic? I'm not someone who hates religious people or anything, but yeah, the Mormons are kind of asking for that one. I'm not a Mormon, but I am religious. The idea of a baptism later in life, whether it's 8 in the Mormon religion or in your 20s in biblical Jewish times, is so that the person being baptized at least has a basic understanding of what they are agreeing to. The child has no say in this. We are being baptized at an older age. The questions are asked to the person being baptized, in addition to their sponsors, parents, or friends, because the priest then sees it as the person's choice to be baptized. In the Christian religion's baptism is the first sacrament and is seen as the first step to becoming a Christian and the official joining of the religion. Source: I'm a youth minister. Catholicism, though, does have confirmations of faith for their baptized members, where those who are ready to make their baptismal promises for themselves can do so at a later age. So they really do have a say. It makes sense if you will be forgiven for your sins. What are the consequences of sinning when they will be forgiven? Theological questions. If you're a nice person and you wrong me, some lost everything and everyone and were dying all by themselves quietly in tiny little, often very cold apartments. Long story short, one day she gave me an equivalent of $5 to go and get her some groceries. I did as she asked and brought it back to her, but I kept the change to myself for something stupid, like chocolate or whatever. Before leaving, she asked me for the change, which she never did before. I lied and told her there was none. In a way, I see it as being punished for what I did. So stupid of me. Next time I got there, probably 2 or 3 days later, she was already non-verbal/comatose due to the illness, breathing what I recognize today as agonal breaths. Shortly after I heard, she died in her room. I did a lot of my life to correct that mistake, but somehow it still bothers me a lot. Things we do as kids are sometimes meant to shape us one way or another. If she was on her deathbed, why did she need the change? Just like a damn Jew. He believed that death anxiety is very real and people's deepest source of concern. He described this anxiety as so intense that it can result in many of our everyday fears. One of these fears is not being able to fund your last days, running out of money before you run out of life. What we might perceive as old people being stingy is actually a very real form of fear. We do not have it, since our continued source of income and ability to provide for ourselves is providing us with a false sense of security. It's not the distasteful Jewish joke or your cavalier treatment of this woman's death and suffering that makes your comment worthy of downvotes. I'm not sure saying anything will change how you feel about it, but you were a little kid. Little kids make mistakes. Most kids at 10 or 11 would have done this and never thought of it again. The fact that it's affected you and caused you to do more good because of it probably puts you ahead of the game morally. Might be time to consider forgiving yourself. There's a saying in Hebrew. It goes something like, let it be a candle to your feet. I think I forgave myself for it, but it's always at the back of my mind. While I was in the 5th grade, we had a bomb scare in my school. The principal was unsure whether it was a prank notice or a genuine threat, so she decided to call the police anyway, just to be sure, to not cause any panic amongst the students. All of us were escorted to the auditorium where the children were encouraged to come onto the stage and sing, dance, etc. to entertain the others. None of the students knew about the threat, so we were watching the show in oblivion. It wasn't as entertaining as it was supposed to be, mainly because they were individual acts, i.e., singing without background music, dancing without music, etc. So it was a drag to watch. I was called onto the stage to present my act, whatever it was. I screamed, "There is a murderer in this school, and they're keeping us here thinking that we will be safe, but we are not." Needless to say, the shit hit the fan. Ultimate chaos ensued, after which I had a rather unpleasant talk with the principal and the district police chief, and then one with my parents. PFFF, 5th graders, am I right? TLDR, my school received a fake bomb threat. I set it off for real. Edit, to all those who find it incredulous that the students were gathered inside the school. Not exactly. My school auditorium was located at a distance from my school, and that measure was taken to prevent us from going outside and causing panic in the neighborhood. Edit 2. Wow, thank for the gold. Whoever you are. Smiley face. Haha. Good on you for revealing the truth to your classmates. Also, why the fuck were they keeping you in school? You guys should have been outside away from the potentially bomb-laden building. We had an inflatable pool in the backyard, and my sister and I played in it all day. One afternoon, during a bit of a storm, I decided I was going to tell my mom that my sister got struck by a lightning. She floated motionless in the water with her eyes open, and I went to get my mom. She jumped in the pool with clothes on and started shaking my sister. She was freaking out, and we started laughing because it was so hilarious. She spanked us with a leather belt and never let us swim in the rain again. Haha. As a kid, my mother used to put M&Ms in a big plastic container. In an identical container was cereal. So after I came home from school, I think I was around 7 years old, I went to grab the container with the cereal and ended up knocking over the one with the M&Ms. I saw that my dog was eating all the pieces off the floor, and I really didn't feel like cleaning it up, so I let him go nuts with it. At the time, I didn't know chocolate was like poison to dogs. Mind you, the dog must have eaten an entire bag of M&Ms. Not the small hand-sized ones they sell at the gas station, but the big-ass one meant to feed an entire block of children. I didn't realize that something was wrong until my dog started vomiting and foaming at the mouth, when I start panicking and crying. I don't remember why. I can still hear him groaning in pain. TLDR, I kill my dog because I am a fucking imbecile. Edit. Honestly, I cannot remember what breed it was. I believe it was a terrier. IRC, I usually spent my afternoons with a neighborhood friend and her family because my father worked and my mother had to drive my sister around for violin lessons and whatnot. Korean family. So there was no shortage of stupid lessons for her. Some days I just went home by myself to make myself a PB&J sandwich and watch TV while waiting for the family. I really don't remember it being that big of a deal being alone at home for a couple of hours as a kid in the late 80s. Finally, thank you for the kind words, for the most part. Jesus Christ. I don't think you need to be reprimanded for that one. It seems like you effectively punished yourself. It's really sad that no one was around to help. Sad face. Just for future. If this ever happens again, force feed your dog hydrogen peroxide. It will foam up in their stomach and make them vomit everything up. Could save his life. Edit. Some people seem to be confused about hydrogen peroxide. No, it is not bleach. Yes, it is a household item, usually in a medicine cabinet used for treating cuts and burns. And they ran over my puppy. I can still hear the groaning as well. I cried for a long time. It was about 5 to 6. Miss you, Copper. My sister is extremely allergic to milk. One day I gave her a glass of milk and said it was her special milk, which of course it wasn't. Parents were not impressed. This is the sort of thing that makes me terrified about having kids. Pushed a kid off the monkey bars at recess. This was like 2nd grade. He was going too slow. I expected him to have flashbacks and reveal the truth every time. I don't even remember his name, but he moved away next year. Looking back, I wonder if the parents moved him to a safer school district. Edit. It appears I interpreted the question wrong. I read that as, what did you deserve to be punished for, even though you weren't? My brother was pushed off monkey bars in elementary school and broke his arm. We moved to a new house over the summer, so we switched schools. You should PM the original comment guy and ask him where he lives / ask your brother what grade he was in. I was pushed off the monkey bars when I was little, broke my wrist. Moved to a private school during the winter. Roberto was the kid who pushed me. Fuck you. In the first grade, a kid grabbed the last monkey bar as I was swinging for it. I fell and broke my arm and started crying. The kid bailed off to class. This happened about a minute after the end of lunch bell. We were alone. I had to walk to the nurse's office. As a child, first thing that comes to mind is that in 6th to 8th grade, we used to pay the classmate kid with Tourette's syndrome $0.05 to have a freak out during school assemblies. During assemblies in grade school, we'd all be in the school gymnasium and sitting cross-legged on the floor. Then, at some point during the important speech, David, kudos. When I was about 5 years old, my mom was in a physically abusive relationship with my stepfather. Let's call him Joseph. This transgression happened shortly after an episode where my mom locked me, her, and my grandmother in the apartment and barricaded the front door with a couch. And he was trying to kick in the door to hurt us. The police were called, and my mom had to get a restraining order after. Flash forward to a couple months. I was seeing a child psychologist, as I understood, now asking my mom recently. My mom was in the room as well. The psychologist asked if Joseph ever did anything to me. He didn't do anything to me. But after that scary night and years of my mother's screams, something in me snapped. It was then I knowingly told a lie. I lied to both the psychologist and my mom and said that he touched me. I had an idea that it was bad in the way she described it to me, and I really wanted him to go away from us forever. He really hurt my mom, and I wanted him to be hurt too. Child molestation charges were also charged against him in addition to battery charges. He is still in jail. I have never told anyone this before. Not even my mother or grandmother knows. I am 22 years old. Don't let your guilt cloud reality. There is no way a guy is in jail for 17 years based only on a single molestation charge. He is there for other reasons that have nothing to do with you. Just do a search in your area on known sex offenders. They get out of jail a lot sooner than any of us would like to think about. I tied my little sister to the outside washing line post, then smeared jam on her face. It was a hot, sunny day, and I sat back and waited for all those bugs to come and land on that face. I'm ashamed. In their own waste. Edit. Sorry, guys. I guess I don't remember as much of freshman history as I thought. Turns out it was actually Persian. Maybe I got the idea from reading a history book then. Nah, I was just a little shit to my sister. I once disabled the brakes on her push bike and told her to ride as fast she could down the hill. I carry a lot of guilt. When I was 6, a boy in my class broke his arm and his family took him to Disneyland. This inspired me to jump out a window arm first. I foolishly never accounted for my family's lack of wealth, and all I received for my troubles was 2 months of pain and a medical bill that I still owe my dad for. My parents could obviously see the foul play and said they had planned on getting me a new bike soon anyway. But since I tried to manipulate them into doing it instead of being patient, I got to spend the next year with no bike at all, having to run on foot after my friends on their bikes to try to keep up, to learn my lesson. When I was in 6th or 7th grade, LOL had just made its way to my house. Some mean girl at school was giving me a hard time, so I wrote a poem about her being a slut and a bitch, words that I could not define at the time, about 98 to 99. They just rhymed well, and I emailed it to everyone in my grade. Someone sent it to the girl, and her mom faxed it to my mom. I had to have a sit down with my mom where she defined the word slut for me and banned me from the internet for a month. I threw rocks, some huge ones, at kids playing on the playground in elementary school and called it a meteor shower. Needless to say, that's how I earned my first suspension. She was pretty much a complete bitch and tried to get in a physical fight with me on her first day out of nowhere. Second day comes and she starts throwing random insults at me. I heard something about her earlier and decided to retaliate based off of it. I waited for a yo mama joke and then it happened. It went something along the lines of, my mom might be ugly, But at least she didn't run away from my family 2 days after I was born. Ever imagine how ugly of baby you had to be for that to happen? I was stuck in the guidance counselor's office for 3 hours, and nobody wanted to talk to her past their hellos. As for how the insults started, we were lining up in the gym. Luckily, she was assigned a spot to my right. Out of nowhere, she starts attacking me for being Asian, random insults to my intelligence, random yo mama jokes, etc. Things that as 4th graders seemed like a big deal. I wasn't want to turn the other cheek back then. That was when it happened. As for my parents, I told them everything the night before at the dinner table. But at the time, I just couldn't control myself. If I saw someone picking on someone else, I'd stand up for them too. Also fixed a lot of grammar mistakes. Edit 2. Never touching this account again. So apparently answering a thread about the worst thing I've done as a child means I told a story about my life's proudest moment. The kind of PMs this account is getting is pretty hilarious. It's a throwaway, guys. Something I did over 15 years ago is not necessarily what defines who I am today. He yelled at me in front of the counselor, then high-fived me when we got into the car. Healthy. I was in grade 4, and I stole the floppy disk with all of our report card grades on it, then went to the forest and burned it. We did not receive our report cards till the following year, and our teacher never returned. I used to punch my dad in the nuts all the time because I thought it was funny the way he fell and rolled around while cursing. Not cool. Past me, not cool. My dad still talks about how I would come up to him while he was napping or watching TV and cuddle and stroke his face to put him at ease. As soon as he was relaxed, I would poke him in the eye. While my dad was sitting down watching TV or reading, whenever he wouldn't expect it, I would run full speed and hit him in the nuts with my head. I must have done it 3 times before he backhanded me. I painted a 2-foot x 2-foot square of my bedroom carpet with my mom's nail polish when I was 7. It was for science. After the shit was beaten out of me, she cut that piece out and saved it. She gave it to me as framed artwork when I graduated high school, and it's hanging in my room now. My brother did that with lipstick in the bathroom. The entire bathroom. He didn't get a piece of it. I stayed after practice and would do it once the janitor was done, just jimmy the door open with a knife. The school had no fucking clue what was going on because it required tools to dismount. And wasn't like people wouldn't notice some kid carrying a towel dispenser around. I got found out because the ceiling tile got wet and 3 or 4 of the fucking things fell out. Cracked the porcelain urinal. I never admitted to it. School got the cops involved, looked for prints, and everything, recovered none. I wiped that shit. Some kid told the principal I always stayed late. They put 2 + 2 together, assumed guilt. Got in school suspension, cause they couldn't prove anything. I fucking hated that school. I got suspended for having my eyes open during prayer. Think about that for a second. I was watching my little sister play by the creek near our house, and I saw a honeybee's nest hanging in a tree above her. I then threw a bunch of rocks at it. They stung her. I got in lots of trouble. I did something very similar in 2nd grade, but it was an accident. My school had their own nature trails behind the school in the woods. One day my teacher took us for a hike, and when we were leaving the woods, there was a birdhouse someone had smashed, and a board with a nail sticking up was right in the trail. So, thinking I was helping out, I kicked it off the trail. Big mistake. It hit a large hornet's nest, and the hornets came swarming out and attacking the entire class. We all ran frantically across the athletic fields and into the school. The hornets followed and even went into other classrooms. A number were allergic, and half the class missed more than 1 day. The entire class hated me. It was assumed it was done intentionally, and it was regularly brought up even many years after. I kicked a hornet's nest. My entire 2nd grade classes got attacked by hornets because of it. I was a 7-year-old little girl at the time, a real goody-good. I was pretend fighting with my dad. Only I was using an actual bread knife for a pretend sword fight. I cut his hand. I spent 1 hour sitting in timeout in our basement, bawl my eyes out. Till this day, it is beyond me why he didn't just tell me to put the knife down. I still feel bad about it. Also, the day I used my dad's old record player as a scratching device. You know, it looks so cool when DJs do it. His favorite record was on that record player. I severely damaged the record and broke the needle. I had to pay for the needle. When I gave it to him, he said, "You didn't have to do that. I don't play records that often anymore." I made a wrong right, so I'm content. Edit, I thought of another one. That one is on your dad. He was the adult in the situation. He failed to make the judgment call that maybe a bread knife might hurt him, and then he put you in timeout for his mistake. My sister was coughing. She was /approximate 5, me 7. My dad came in and asked me why, to which I cheerily replied, "She swallowed a golf ball, cue panic, or rush to the hospital," much shouting. But irrationality is pretty much par for the course in these situations. My brother asked me to pour him a glass of some Twister while he was watching TV. Instead, I found some chicken broth that looked very similar. He threw up everywhere. Stealing. Unfortunately, I was an excellent thief as a youth. One day, a buddy and I stole a lighter and candy from a local store. On our way back home, he gets hit by a car crossing the street. I panicked and left him there. Didn't see that one coming right. He lives, I won't admit to it. I feel guilty to this day. Stole a Game Boy Color and deleted some other kids' save on Pokemon Yellow, so I could play. Got caught later that night, but crap. I was a terrible kid. When I was 10, I found a hacksaw in the garage and decided to try it on the closest thing available, the door frame. I had already cut all the way to the wall when my dad found me. He used the hacksaw to cut my Game Boy in half. I was being a little shit in the grocery store, and my mom grabbed me by my arm and told me to cut it out, and I made a huge scene and started yelling that she can't hurt me anymore because social services said so. Then while we were leaving, the cashier asked, "Is that all?" And I said, "What about all the stuff in your purse, Mom?" And my mom looked really embarrassed. Luckily, the guy didn't care and figured I was joking after what happened. I stabbed a boy in the knee with a pencil because he was a jerk. I guess I just snapped and attacked because I was through with his jerkiness. My punishment was being grounded for 2 months, no TV/video games for a month, and no Halloween, which to a child is devastating. This probably isn't going to blow over to well for me, but here we go. I was a terror as a child, always getting into things, but I had a weird obsession with fire. I was about 8 to 9 years old at the time. We had a small creek next to our house that drained off the main road we lived on. I had seen that creek overflow several times to the point of water being over the road, but we always played down there anyway. Snakes? Man, well, one time after it had flooded, I was down in the creek, and I found a snapping turtle. Me being obsessed with turtles and fire, I got the bright idea that I was going to stick the turtle in the fire cabinet of my dad's smoker. So I did. I poured lighter fluid all over it and set him on fire. He just crawled into his shell and cooked. Parents caught me. Naturally, I had to take the turtle out and bury it in the cold. Also was grounded for some time afterwards. My family still brings that up occasionally, even though this has been 15 years ago. I look back at it now and see really how fucked up it was. I set off some black cats during a slow song at church after September 11th. I went through a pyromania phase when I was 7/8-ish. And during that phase, I had the really bad habit of lying in my bed, top bunk with my younger brother asleep below me, lighting matches and letting them burn down until the flame was nearly at my face. And given the most frightening sentence a 7/8-year-old can hear, "Just wait until your father gets home." I took apart my dad's antique tie 99/4 computer without having the slightest idea of how to put it back together. Honestly, I don't know how I'm still alive. When I was little, the poop went everywhere. My dad found out and made me clean it. When I was 5, I took a screwdriver to the seat of my dad's brand new Harley. I poked about 50 to 60 holes in and went back inside. Some wannabe gangster from the suburbs threatened my friend's sister. So my crew and I made his life a living hell for years. We did all sorts of things to him. We subscribed him to about 400 magazines, checking the bill me later option when sending in the subscription card. Similarly, we signed him up for every single free promotion we could find. Gave his car a fresh paint job of used motor oil at least once every couple of months. Threw crates of rotten fruit at his house. Dropped off used tires in his front yard, glued a dildo to the TR. Unk of his car, found a box of old shoes and drive-by, pelted him and his crew with them. Called his house at all hours of the night and got into screaming matches with his dad, telling him that his son owed us money. Mailed him a boxed dildo with a custom printed dick-in-a-box label very visible on the outside, and even a fake invoice saying Mr. Asshole. He sounded like he was awoken from a dead sleep. I happily agreed to his $90 convenience fee for coming at that time of night. Kicked my brother's glasses into his face. That was a dick move. When I was a kid, I got into a fight with my older brother and was furious with him. So I took my keys I had in my pocket and carved my brother's name, I.S. retarded, into our wooden dining room table. Yes, it was misspelled. I had not yet started school. We ended up giving the table away to my uncle, who still uses it 15 years later. I have no idea why. Maybe they don't like my brother.